To not sugarcoat it, yesterday our manufacturer basically pulled the plug on our project.
I just did not think that message would ever come in through my phone. I thought it was just, I just didn't think it was on the cards for them to pull out. I just didn't.
Welcome back to episode 2 of the Building Regime podcast, where myself, Ellis, and Hamish basically just take you through a journey of what it's like to build regime, all the ups and all the downs. I think this week is a pretty interesting episode. To not sugarcoat it, yesterday our manufacturer basically pulled the plug on our project, which is pretty crazy, which has left us today scrambling to find a new manufacturer to pick up where we left off. It's not as devastating as it sounds, although yesterday when we tried to record this episode, it came out probably a bit hotter than it will now because quite a lot's moved forward in the last 24 hours. But essentially where it leaves us is with a formula, knowing exactly what we want, exactly where we are, the exact suppliers that we want to work with, but without someone to basically take us through a R&D day where we get the taste right and then pull the trigger on manufacturing the bulk powder. So, Hamish, talk to me.
Well, like you said, yesterday was a bit of a hot take on, God, we thought everything was crumbling down. I was certainly more, I think, annoyed than you were initially. I think you sort of saw the bright side of things, but I was just thinking about it from a delay perspective. Based on our previous manufacturer, if we had found someone literally like today, so the next day, it would take 6 weeks to order the ingredients for R&D. Then we've got to get in and book in for an R&D, so that's probably a minimum of a week. So then you're at 7 weeks. Then let's say we like R&D went really well and we did a first run straight away, then that's another 8 weeks. So we're setting back nearly 4 months that I was looking at yesterday. Obviously, we now know a little more. I feel a lot more hopeful now that we can get this back on track quicker than we thought. So yeah, yesterday was a bit of a tough one to take.
Yeah, I think when you're in the heat of the moment, it feels like the world's crumbling down around you. But really, it's actually not that big of a deal because today, as soon as all of the manufacturers opened, 8 a.m, I was on the phone picking up conversations with ones that we spoke to previously that we liked and we could see ourselves working with, but ultimately, because you have to make a choice, we didn't. By 8:50, I was in my car, sitting on my laptop, sending over an email with the exact specifications, what we need, how we should move forward. And then by about 2 o'clock today, they had already reached out to all of the suppliers and moving it forward quite quickly, which is good.
Yeah. So it's actually not far away from where we were.
That's just a big lesson for us in that these things are just going to happen as we go along this journey. And like we were saying yesterday in that call, if we zoom out and we think, let's say 6 months ahead of now, and we think back to that moment yesterday where it literally felt like the be all end all when we received that email of them just saying, not doing it anymore, not manufacturing electrolytes. Like we won't even look back at it as significant. It will just be another bump in the road that we just overcame.
It's hard to do in the moment though. I mean, I saw your text. Literally, I was at work, sat at my desk, and I see a text saying the manufacturer's pulled out, and I was like, this can't be right. Literally, just grabbed my phone, walked straight out the office, checked the email, and I thought it was going to be for our blend. I thought they were going to cancel just our run, but it turns out they've cancelled doing electrolytes for the foreseeable future, which is a big step for them. But it is what it is. It has an effect on us. And luckily, they've been quite good in helping us with, reaching out. They've given us some people we can reach out to in terms of other manufacturers. They've given us all the information that we've gathered with them for our current formula, all the contacts and all sorts of things. So yeah, at the time, it felt major. But like I say, now we've sort of spoken to more people and realised that we can actually get this back on track quite quickly and possibly not even lose that much time. Like I said, if we get in within 2 weeks, pretty similar stage to where we were with our previous manufacturer, we might not actually lose any time at all. It might just be a case of having to just take a leap of faith and hope that everything is okay with the new guys.
So the people that we are likely to move ahead with now are more of a family-run, smaller business. And then for perspective, the people that we were working with prior are a little bit of a larger organization. There's a lot more, I guess, levels to the hierarchy, et cetera, et cetera. And I think if we wouldn't have used them to get to this point, I don't know if we would be at this point, because with our previous manufacturer, we were leaning so heavily on their sourcing team to really find out what's possible from an ingredient traceability standpoint, from a quality standpoint, what sorts of ingredients that we can use. And I don't think that the manufacturer that we're likely to go ahead with now would have, number one, had the resource to do that, and also the patience. Because when we're working with a bigger manufacturer, they have account managers that are ultimately on a salary, and their role is to bring new business in. So they will give you a lot more leeway, time and energy than maybe someone would where it's you're basically dealing with the person who owns the manufacturer.
Yeah, but that being said, though, I think that now we've got our formula, we've got our product, basically. We just need to take it through R&D testing, sampling, all that sort of stuff, and go forward. I think that, I hope anyway, we can have a bit of more of a closer relationship with the manufacturer now, because it is, there's less people, there's less cogs in the wheel. It's more, we're talking straight to the people who deal with everything. We can hopefully have more of an insight if we want to go up there and view the facility, if we want to go up there and, see everything going on. We're allowed to do that, and they hopefully will let us do that. It's less things or less people we have to go through, less hoops we have to jump through in order to get things done. So hopefully this will be a blessing in disguise, but I guess time will tell, right?
But it shows that today, like at 8 o'clock, you're on the phone with them, and then by 3 o'clock, they've done what took our previous manufacturer probably a week to do, because they've got all these different teams doing all of these different things. It just slows down the process. So I guess that's quite an interesting reflection, in that if you want to get things moving, sometimes a smaller manufacturer might even be better for that, because they can move quicker. And then I think in terms of like further updates, that's probably the biggest one. If you listened to this podcast yesterday, it would have probably sounded a lot different and a lot like severe than it does now. But I think after a good night's sleep and then a bit of action the next day, you realise that things which feel massive in the moment usually aren't. Just another hiccup, but I think, things are moving back in the right direction now. But obviously, a bit of a spanner in the works, but it's got to be expected, right? Anything else you want to touch upon?
The start of the week was quite flat. There wasn't a lot going on. We were waiting just to hear back about our R&D day, when that was going to be set. And then obviously everything just crashed. And then it was kind of like panic mode. What do we do? How do we get out of this? And then literally within 24 hours, it's a completely different story, and we're feeling good again. Bit of a roller coaster of emotions, but, it's part of it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think with like a project like this, the turnaround of how severe the emotions are is probably more dramatic than anything I've ever experienced before. Especially like if you look at the difference between like the day-to-day consistency of your mood and mental state, say when you're working a job, compared to this, it is the complete opposite, because there's so much unknowns to it. It's actually crazy. And how everything can just literally take an 180-degree turn overnight is also crazy.
Yeah. That message. I just did not think that message would ever come in through my phone. I thought I just didn't think it was on the cards for them to pull out. I just didn't. So I guess expect the unexpected, but yeah.
So yeah, I think we're going to wrap this one up there.
Yeah, it's been a eventful week. Again, there's not really been much going on. We just had some shocking news halfway through the week, so bit of a bump in the road, but I think we're back on track, and hopefully we'll have some exciting news next episode.
Sounds good. Look forward to seeing you all next week.
And as always, find us on our socials at Drink Regime on both Instagram and TikTok, and our podcast at Building Regime. See you in the next one.